So over the last 2 years, we've obviously seen a huge shift in buying habits and really, frankly, the world with COVID and everything that's brought. So from your point of view as our senior planner, how have you seen and what do you see looking forward sort of shifts in buying habits and the audience themselves within the luxury and the premium space?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing that we've seen is the shift in the age group. So we know that by 2025, over 50% of this market is going to be Gen Z or millennial. Now that has quite a big impact and a big shift in how we go about things. So things that we might think of as an elevated experience online, like seamless UX and integration across multi-channels is actually going to become an expected thing. They've grown up with this, so we need to be on top of it and delivering experiences that match those expectations. We've seen other things through that as well, with them being digital natives. So social commerce becoming massive, with now being able to shop through the likes of Instagram, WhatsApp to an extent. We actually saw, again, over 50% of luxury customers bought through a social media channel for the first time during the pandemic, and that they are now 3.3 times as likely than the average customer to buy through social. Now, what we're not saying, therefore, is Princess Yachts, for example, sell a yacht through an Instagram post, because with the best win in the world, you're not going to see that post and click buy now on a £5 million yacht. It's just not going to happen. But we can therefore extend the customer journey through from social media into a channel and just make that engagement piece more kind of flowing and through that just one period of time. But we've also seen massive things. The one obvious thing to talk about is probably sustainability. It's kind of a buzzword at the moment, but with this younger audience, they do tend to be a lot more passionate about it, and the luxury market as well are becoming more and more passionate about it as well. So before, people might avoid brands that kind of they don't agree with, they don't line up to their values. Now they are actively willing to boycott them. A big part of what we do in planning is get to know our client inside and out and understand the truth behind their brand, and everything that we do strategically, creatively has to be true to them, has to be deliverable as well, because just the worst thing you can do is say one thing and be caught out doing another. Think of Brewdog recently, and that kind of shows why we have that as a big key cornerstone in planning.
And what about Henry's? I know we talk a lot about those. Can you talk us through what they are?
Yeah, so Henry's is it essentially stands for high earners, not rich yet. So these are younger audiences with high income for their kind of age bracket. So these are likely to become your high net worth, ultra high net worth individuals in the future. So by starting to introduce these brands that they might not necessarily be able to buy into at the moment, but get engagement with them, when they do kind of become into that category of high net worth, ultra high net worth, they're aware they've got a connection with that brand. So it's kind of easier to bring them in on that customer journey and essentially convert them into a customer.
I think what's really interesting about what you just said earlier around the younger generations, where it's essentially new wealth and new money, is you're getting YouTube billionaires, right? You're getting the audience group that they're placed to be themselves, not their PA or somebody else or someone within their entourage, but them themselves are having direct conversations and influence with their audiences through TikTok, through Twitter, and even people like who are older, but like Elon Musk, look at his influence right now. It's the richest person on the planet that's directly talking and influencing politics, wealth. Cryptocurrencies are changing in seconds because of what he says or what he doesn't say or what he infers. So I find that really, really interesting. And I suppose with that, you then step into the metaverse and you step into NFTs and all of that brilliant stuff, right? And I find that just very, very interesting, the stuff that Meta's doing and many businesses are doing, particularly in terms of, I suppose, from an operational perspective, like working from home. What could that mean? We all know that we've been sort of slightly alienated, I suppose, in our own bedrooms, on our little stages in front of a Teams or a Zoom call. But what they're trying to do is bring that into the workplace. So actually, you're all in the metaverse in the same place together, to the point where you're starting to be able to feel things. Well, that's really interesting, and you're seeing a perspective as if you were in that room. So I think if you then translate that as a concept into the luxury space, where luxury is having doing quite a poor job in terms of how their online experience, we know their offline experience is awesome. You go into a store, you have that incredible experience, those conversations, they're trying to keep you in there, and there might be music playing and all the rest of it. You're talking to a concierge who comes up to you. The online version of that isn't quite there yet, but imagine if it could be, i.e. along comes the metaverse, right? And I think for luxury brands in particular, but frankly for many different brands, for retail, for luxury retail, I think that's extremely interesting. And actually as a platform and to amplify conversations and to amplify influence to audiences where you can actually, you can go to a gig and you can meet someone's avatar who happens to be famous, et cetera, et cetera. There's so many variations of opportunity there, I think, particularly for the luxury space. I think that's a really interesting space to be in right now.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I think what it really does is emphasise online becoming more of an important brand touch point, as important as the physical brand touch points of your bricks and mortar stores. Your online is then becoming hugely kind of influential as well. It's also really interesting, the metaverse in general, and it is really hard to kind of understand the concept of an NFT being worth so much money, but there are shifts in audiences that we've seen and shifts in attitudes that we've seen in the past similar to this. So if you ask someone 15, 20 years ago that bought CDs, one day you won't own those CDs, you'll just listen to it online and you'll pay a subscription. People would go, well, no, because you're not owning anything physical, so that's not right. But now look at Spotify. It's so who buys CDs anymore? It is really interesting how that's going to go with the metaverse as well. But I think examples of the metaverse have been around actually a while. If you are a fellow gamer like me, you will have seen it. I play some racing games. FIFA, for example, actually have sponsored ads around the stadium, around a racetrack, for example. That's advertising in the digital world. So it's doing essentially the same job, probably a little bit more targeted, if we're honest, than something in the physical world. And it's really interesting to see which way that will go in the metaverse, because if you open up targeting to people that are gaming online where we can track people, then you could have some really targeted advertising going on, more targeted than seeing.
Yeah. And I read something a few weeks ago where Snoop Dogg had built a mansion in the virtual world. I can't remember what virtual world. And then some dude then went and bought the land, the virtual land next to Snoop Dogg's mansion, and bought it for £500,000.
Amazing.
Right, so there's that type of commerce. And I also think really interesting sort of trends also is, 3D printing, is digital paper. If you think about that white glove experience, an essential experience, even definitely away from a website, that makes deliverability of a product or a teaser or communication, it just opens the door even more in terms of what's possible. And I think the luxury sector is going to jump on that, and they should jump on that.
Yeah, I completely agree with all of this. It's becoming so exciting of how we can do that. And I think where I get excited about that is the blend between online and offline touch points. So, as you know, we did work recently with Knight Frank on their wealth report, and there was the integration of online and offline, jumping from a physical report onto a digital, the digital channels as well. And I think that's very interesting how we can go about that. But as you say, yeah, the deliverables will be just a very interesting space to watch, I think.